morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are fortunate enough to be here for the, what month is this? December. Is it really December, Patty? Oh, no. I guess I've got my Christmas shopping done, so there's that. But you are lucky enough to be here for the December 2017 Coffee Pot webinar, where we're talking today about something that we call the AP Due Invoices Report. Without further ado, I am going to press the magic buttons, all of them. Okay, we do have a hand up. Patty, you want to?
We do. Samantha, do you have a question? Samantha?
Well, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and
I'll mute her back up.
Mute her back up. And Samantha, if you're having trouble, just email us and we can get you a recorded version of this webinar if you're having trouble hearing or if there's some reason that we're not recognizing that you are raising your hand. So, you've been in AP before, probably, if you're here. AP, of course, means Accounts Payable. And so when you go to pay somebody, I'm just going to pull up this invoice for Stewart Court Reporting, and I don't know. Yeah, there's a couple that have yet to be paid. And you go over to General Ledger and you tab and you put the appropriate General Ledger information in. And then when you're done entering this invoice, well, this is one that I've pulled up, but the idea is there. When you're entering a brand new invoice, you get to a third screen if you're integrating with tabs, and you can say, we're going to bill this check that we're writing to this client or to this matter. And that's all well and good. That's how AP works. And for the most part, that's the level of integration that most people need between AP and tabs. They need the ability, when they write a check in Accounts Payable, to say, hey, this is for something that a client's being advanced money for, or that we need reimbursement from a client for. And so on that third screen, you put in your tabs information, and that will appear on the client's bill. But some firms do a lot of work with certain, it's usually litigation oriented. For instance, certain chiropractors, certain expert witnesses, perhaps certain court reporting firms, where they have agreements that they will not pay the vendor until they have been paid by the client. And the problem is, there's nothing other than going and looking every month or every day or every week after you've entered payments, whatever frequency you want. There's nothing in the software short of doing that to tell you, hey, here's some invoices that you haven't paid that have been paid by the client. And so what we did when we first wrote this for the first client that wanted it, and then enhanced it as we had several others that wanted the same thing, is we came up with a standard report that goes out and looks at all the invoices in Accounts Payable that have not yet been paid. And by that I don't mean not yet been paid by the client, but you have not yet paid the vendor. And then further checks to see which of those invoices have now been paid by the client, and presents you with a list. And so our report ends up looking something like this. I'm going to go ahead and show you the report itself as you run it. You just click an icon and you get into this thing. And if anybody who's ever worked with our report generator, you get a list of the available reports, and one of them would be due AP invoices, and all you do is select that report and hit generate. Now, I'm not going to do that because it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to run, because we're running it against a slower data set, one that's not Platinum SQL. I'm just going to take you to the results. So you click that button, and it tells you, okay, these are the due AP invoices, the invoices in AP that have not yet been paid to the vendor, for which some or all of the costs on that invoice have been paid by the client. So what this is saying is you have a check ready to print to Adams Chiropractic for $217, where all $217 has been paid by the client. Now, let me explain these two columns. What you see here is that, well, let's look at this example. Here's a check for $100, also to Adams Chiropractic, that appeared on an invoice to the end client, the client of the law firm, along with $300 other worth of advances. And all of those have been paid. Now, why do we do this? Why don't we just say, hey, these have been paid? Well, tabs, when it tracks payments and how they allocate, does not track it down to a transaction level. So let's just pretend in this second example that there were two costs that appeared on that client's invoice from the law firm. One for this Adams chiropractic bill for $100 that was paid by this check, or is going to be paid by this check, and another for $300 for something else. And since when you enter a payment into tabs and it allocates against costs on a certain invoice, it only knows that so many of the dollars allocated toward cost. It doesn't know that so many of the dollars allocated toward this cost versus that cost. We don't go down to a transaction level in how we allocate payments against costs. So if this client had paid $200 of their advances that they were billed in their bill, this client of the firm got a bill that included $400 in advances and only paid 200 of them, we would see here that we owe Adams Chiropractic 100. The client was billed 400, but they still have 200 to pay. We don't actually see that here. I'm just giving you an example. And then we have to make a decision about whether or not we're going to pay Adams Chiropractic because the clients only paid half of their advances that appeared on that bill, and therefore we don't know whether the intention was to pay for Adams Chiropractic or not. Now, this doesn't happen very often. As you'll see in our sample data set, all of the invoices that were billed to the client of the firm have had all of the advances paid off. But if you do get a partial payment, we have to let you know that so that you can make an educated decision about whether or not to pay this particular vendor in light of the fact that you have not received payment for all of the advances that appeared on that invoice from the firm to their client. So that's it. 3 columns. How much was the invoice to this particular vendor on this particular invoice date? How much was billed on the invoice that then went to the law firm's client in advances total, and how much remains to be paid? And of course, when you have zeros here, it's fine to go and pay this because you've been reimbursed by the client. And when you don't have zeros here and you have some amount, you have to make an educated guess, or an educated decision, I should say, about whether or not to pay that. And that, in essence, is the due AP invoices report. For the clients that we've given this to, or should I say sold this to, and for the clients that we originally wrote it for, this is a lifesaver, because they are, prior to getting this report, they were constantly having to look up those invoices, separately look up the invoices to the client that charge appeared on to see if it's been paid. There was no correlation between them, at least in a report that could show that. And so this report pulls those things together and lets you, on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis, very quickly run a report that shows you what invoices you should pay in AP because you have been reimbursed by the client. How much does it cost? It's $495. It's a standard $495 report from Attorney Computer Systems. That does include 1 hour to install it. Most installations take 5-10 minutes, so that's plenty of time. We will install it on as many machines as you want. The $495 covers a license for the firm, not a license for a machine. So if you have 4 people that need to run this report, you've got plenty of time to get it installed on all 4 machines, and you're only paying the $495. What else do you need? You need an ODBC driver. I know that's nerd talk, and in case you're interested, it stands for Open Database Connectivity. Aren't you glad you asked? And that's just something that allows our program to get to your tabs data, and so therefore you need that. Now, how much is that? It's $99 plus shipping from STI unless you have Platinum SQL. Platinum SQL has the ODBC drivers included with it. So if you don't have Platinum SQL, you also need to pay $99 plus shipping to get the ODBC driver from STI. So to summarize real quick, $495 to us for the program and 1 hour's time to install. $99 plus shipping to STI to get the ODBC driver in unless you have Platinum SQL. And Patty tells me that we have a question.
We do. Daniel would like to know if it's possible to have a column for an invoice number on that report to know which invoices have been paid based on note on check.
Yes. It certainly is, and that's an excellent question, because although this is a standard report that costs $495 out of the box, we can change anything you want at our hourly rate of $175. Now, if we determine that that's something that would be very helpful to all the other people that are using the report, we might just throw that in there. And I'd have to make a decision about what you wanted, Daniel, and whether or not that's something we would just throw in there and it would all of a sudden be available for everyone, or if it's something that we make as a custom modification. But one of the neat things about our reports is they are always modifiable because we wrote them, as opposed to the reports that are built into tabs. Those are not modifiable because they're built into the software. Very good. That's it. That's all I have. If you have questions, you can always email me at paul@paulpurdue.com. And just so you know, it's like the school, not the chicken. So it's PURDUE, paul@paulpurdue.com. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a webinar of any type by Attorney Computer Systems if I did not take you to our website to show you that if you click on this video word or menu item up here, you will get, well, if you click on it, you get taken to a separate page I'll take you to in a second. If you just hover, you get this list. But I'm going to click on it, and it will take you to a list of every single video title that we have. 4 of them are live events, 2 of them are not. You're currently in a Coffee Pot webinar. We also have our virtual user group meetings, 1 for tabs, 1 for Practice Master, 1 for World Docs. These are live events that are taped. More on that in a second. And then we also have our pre-recorded video titles. Mary Jo has her eBytes video series, of which she records 3 every month. These are short little 2 or 3 or 4 minute videos that talk about something really cool that we can explain very quickly. And we do 1 each month for tabs, 1 for Practice Master, and 1 for World Docs. And then we have our longer format Paul and Mary Jo show, where either I or Mary Jo will take a topic that's broader, requires a little bit more time to explain, and we record 1 of these each month, and we pick whether it's World Docs, tabs, or Practice Master, so they kind of run the gamut. And then, of course, these are self-explanatory. Every last Monday, usually the last Monday of a month, we have our virtual user group meetings with the tabs VUG, we call them. The tabs VUG is at 1 o'clock. The Practice Master virtual user group meeting is at 2 o'clock, and the World Docs virtual user group meeting is at 3 o'clock. And then, of course, we have the Coffee Pot webinars, which you're familiar with because that's where you are right now. Clicking more info on any of these will take you to a list of what's going on. I got in trouble just moments ago because I have not decided what next month's webinar is, but that'll be decided before the end of the day. And when it is, we will have links that will actually take you to a registration. Actually, these links probably work. It's just that nobody would want to link to and then register for a webinar for which they don't know the topic. So you'll always find a description of the actual video series, a description of what's coming soon in the next month's webinar, and if it's a live event. And then as you scroll down, what you'll find is pre-recorded versions of everything else. This one is the one you're currently in, so that's not up there yet. But as you scroll down further, we have a recorded version of every Coffee Pot webinar we've ever done, every virtual user group meeting we've ever done, and of course we have the pre-recorded content that's out there for the eBytes and the Paul and Mary Jo show. You can literally watch videos all weekend long. We have almost 1,000 videos on our website, primarily dealing with those 3 topics: tabs, Practice Master, and World Docs. And of course, you can also use the search box to search for them. So that's it for today. Everybody have a good rest of the day, and we will see you not only next month, but also next year. Have a good day. Bye-bye.